Now see what the headlines are across Nigerian papers this morning. We have in the studio Razak Olokoba, as well as a lawyer and social commentator, Jide Ologun. Gentlemen, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Both.
Good morning, Razak.
Great. All right, let's begin with the Blueprint newspaper now. That is where we start from this morning. And it says, Senate to Obaseki, issue fresh proclamation in 7 days or risk assembly takeover. Your illegality won't stand, Edo government is replying to this stance. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Blueprint. From the Blueprint, let's go to News Direct. News Direct says, Senate confirms Oga, Fashola, Amechi, 40 other ministerial nominees. Okay, and Edo Assembly crisis, Senate gives Obaseki 7 days to issue fresh proclamation. You find all that on the front page of the News Direct. All right. Now, let's go to Vanguard now. Shi'ites banned for engaging in subversion. IGP Adamu is saying this. It says, group pledged allegiance to foreign nations to ruin Nigeria. Don't turn Nigeria to battleground. Shiite group wants Saudi Arabia and Iran. And reverse yourself on Shiite proscription. Onaikon urges federal government. It says Nigeria's security has worsened in last 5 years. Okay, all of these issues you see in the on the front page of the Vanguard. Let's move now to Nigeria Tribune. Nigeria Tribune says federal government sends EFCC, ICPC, NFIU after 20 AMCON debtors to enforce recovery of over 5 trillion naira debt. That is huge. 5 trillion naira debt. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Nigeria Tribune. Let's go to the Nation newspaper now. The Nation has it this morning, says Buhari's chief of staff carried to court. Atiku wasn't born Nigerian. Okay. Buhari's chief of staff carried to court. Atiku wasn't born Nigerian. You'll find that on the front page of the Nation newspaper. PDP candidate shouldn't have run. President tenders credentials. Okay, revelations coming in, controversial ones at that. Here and there you get to see. Right, from the Nation, let's go to the Daily Sun now. The Daily Sun, as Senate clears all ministerial nominees, Buhari works on ministers' portfolios, likely to inaugurate cabinet this week. Okay, that is where I'd like us to start from this morning. That's what you see on the front page of the Daily Sun. Buhari works on the minister's portfolio and likely to inaugurate a cabinet this week. Gentlemen, let's start from there this morning. The ministerial the ministerial screening process had come and gone. 5 days of, on the stretch of looking at, this person qualified. But a lot of Nigerians have not really necessarily been satisfied by the process, which they say it's more of a formality than a thorough work of finding out whether these persons are qualified for this job, whether they were ministers before, or they were or they were legislators before, or not. Jide, let me start with you on this.
Basically, the screening has been concluded. And like you said, it was the function of the Senate, and they have carried out that function. And we expect that in sending them out, the Senate and the executive arm of government will focus on the critical problems we have in the country now and try to find out who can help begin to solve these problems as a matter of emergency. For example, the Ministry of Defense is critical. Right now, the insecurity is terrifying. We talk about the Ministry of Education. I've said it before, recently, state of emergency was declared in that region, and we need, an empowered human...
In fact, looking at it, is there any aspect of Nigeria that doesn't need urgent
We are just
attention
looking,
right
you see, when you bring an emergency case to the hospital, you first stabilize the patient.
Exactly.
Then you now move
before
to
you
the
begin
next
to look
level.
into...
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we look at the Ministry of Power. We are talking about reviving the industries, the moribund ones, creating new ones. Then we are looking at the Ministry of Petroleum. For example, I do not want to read in 3 or 4 years' time that we have spent trillions of naira on subsidy. if we started building the modular refineries in year 2015, by now, we probably won't need to import fuel into this country. And other byproducts that we even forfeit to the refining countries would have been domesticated here, and we can create jobs. So I expect that it will be benchmarking their skills with the assignments on ground.
All right, Razak, like the Sun newspaper puts it, portfolios of ministers will be out any moment. It is at the discretion of the president when he, either this week or even today or next week, whenever. But what are you looking at? All the 43 ministerial nominees have been cleared, so we expect them to form the cabinet anytime the president deems fit. But what are you looking at when it comes to putting round pegs in the round holes?
Whereas a profile of sustaining what you met on ground, sustain BVN, it sustained the card reader, TSA. And I think he's going to do that with the ministerial nominee. It's going to be counterproductive for minister, for the president to do a fundamental change in the portfolios of the minister. Even if you give a lawyer to go and man, if he's coming in for to go and man Minister of Justice, or you give an engineer to go to transport, or someone who understands the ology, it's going to take him another. But so for minister to have been there for 4 years, you spend 4 years in university, that minister will have undergone a 4-year course in whatever field.
Exactly.
So it is better to consolidate what we have on ground instead of for ministers that have left. There's a replacement. There are new names on board. There's Rauf. There are other people too. But for ministers that are, the work they have started, some will be concluded in 2000 and a conclude stage will be got into next year, 2 years, 3 years time. So that process, I will advise the president to sustain it instead of this. They know Nigerians for starting something afresh at all time, and it's not good. It's not good for our nation. We must have that spirit of continuity
and consistency.
So that even Barry eventually lose in 2023, the person coming on ground won't have any excuse at all to say that I don't have faith in what everybody has started. And that is what I think he should do at the moment. Power, significantly, we have to be sincere that there's an improvement. What is the problem of power at the moment is the enabling legislation for federal government to allow states to generate light on their own, allow big organizations to generate light on their own. That's the clock, will of the clock. But as rickety as the structure is,
it's a policy issue.
Yes, as rickety as the issue is, Fashola has done tremendously well in that.
Well, that may be arguable in the eyes of Nigerians from different parts of the country.
No part of Nigeria has not improved.
All right, Jide, we have to leave you here now. I understand we have to leave you here. Thank you very much, Razak Olokoba, for coming.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you so much. Jide Ologun, thank you very much. Right.
Happened on Tuesday, and they're reflected in the papers this morning, as we shall soon see. In the studio with me is public affairs analyst Razak Olokoba and lawyer Jide Ologun. Good morning to you both. Thank you for joining us.
Viewers.
All right, let's go straight away to Blueprint. The lead story there is Senate to Obaseki. Issue fresh proclamation in 7 days or risk assembly takeover. Your illegality won't stand. That's a reaction from the Edo government. On News Direct, Senate confirms Olga Fashola Amechi, 40 other ministerial nominees. The third paper this time now is The Vanguard. The big story there is Shiites banned for engaging in subversion. That's from IGP Adamu. Further riders, group pledges allegiance to foreign nations to ruin Nigeria. Don't turn Nigeria to battleground. Shiite group warns Saudi Arabia and Iran. Reverse yourself on Shiite's prescription. Onoyeko is urging the federal government, and he says that Nigeria's security has worsened in the last 5 years. Let's check out Nigerian Tribune now. FG sends EFCC, ICPC, NFIU after 20 armed con debtors to enforce recovery of over 5 trillion naira debts. That's Nigerian Tribune now. Let's see what the nation is leading with. Buhari's chief of staff, Abba Kyari, is telling the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal that Atiku wasn't born Nigerian says the PDP candidate shouldn't have run, and the president tenders credential. This big story in The Nation. For Daily Sun, Senate clears all ministerial nominees. Buhari works on ministers' portfolios and likely to inaugurate cabinet this week. Finally, at this time is Daily Trust. The big story there is IGP on Shiite group's proscription will treat IMN members as terrorists, state enemies, security experts. Others react as Onoyekon faults FG. Gentlemen, that will be the crux of our discussion on the newspaper review this morning. This banning of the Shiite group, let me begin with you, Mr. Ologun. Do you see a sense of the tide has changed, the game has changed now with this proscription?
Basically, the government has a responsibility to prevent all forms of corruption and abuse of power and ensure that we have peaceful coexistence. So every step that is taken in that direction is welcome. But having said that, we need to look at other issues. We still have an issue in our hands, which is the fact that the rule of law is on the table. Because one of the contentions is that he's been ordered by the court to be released on bail. But the president said because of national interest and security, he's still being kept. And again, another issue is that the members are saying this man is in a deplorable state of health. In fact, at the last appearance in court, he could not even show up in court.
True.
And that enough medical attention is not being given to him. Release him to go for medical attention. And if you look at all the protests, and of course the proscription came, and the government says it's not the Shiite movement that is proscribed as a religion, but there are activities that have terroristic elements. And I think we must ensure that we don't derail the peaceful order that we have. But this is a very sensitive issue because
Absolutely.
some of the issues we started pointing out are coming out now. You can see the involvement, the alleged involvement of Saudi Arabia because Shiite is loyal to Iran and Iraq. The Sunnis that constitute 85% of the Muslim community loyal to Saudi Arabia.
To
and so we need to protect our state and ensure that we don't create another Boko Haram, which is another element, that this is how it started Boko Haram. But I pray that the government will exercise the wisdom of going back to that position of the rule of law, because the rule of law is the fountain of justice, fountain of peace, fountain of prosperity, and see how it can be managed in a way that we contain that trend.
Let me check out your views with Mr. Olokoba now. Right, international dimensions now of this Shiite issue. And now we've seen the police also, giving effect to the proclamation. But yes, the government has said it's not banning the group as a body. So with this police effecting it now, do you see things degenerating?
You see, as a people, we have to be very careful the way you push our argument. Remember in the 80s and 90s, there were issues of killings of non-Christians and Southerners. We said the North didn't pay much attention. Muslims kept quiet. But this time around, Muslims are saying that Shiite is a dangerous sect, Islamic sect. The involvement of Saudi is the head of Islamic institutions all over the world. And government to government might have issues, but Muslims globally have problems with Shiite. I'm a Muslim, but I know things that are incorrect about Christianity. That's one. Boko Haram is one of the most deadliest groups in the world today, followed by Hezbollah. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Shiite has a relationship with Hezbollah. I don't think what government is doing is incorrect. You have a right to practice your religion. I have read about 42 religions. But any religion that says that you should disrupt peaceful movement of other people, you should engage in terrorist activism, you should do what we know Shiites to be doing, it's not a religion. So for me, government should declassify all the information it has about Shiites. Government is hiding a few things from the public view. And to help government's position to be a popular position, they have to declassify it. We know... Even
more than what they've already done.
No, they have not told us so many things. We are aware of activities of El-Zakzaky. From his campus days, we know what he has done from the past to the present. He's a violent person. is a violent person. You need to witness the procession of sight. You need to see what they do on the roads. And when Muslims who are authorities on Islamic issues say that as a Muslim, this Shiite is a dangerous sect, I don't know why other people who are non-Muslim are saying that we should treat them as a religion. It's not a religious body.
I'd like you to quickly respond also to Mr. Ologo's position now about the concerns, and it has also been reflected in the papers, that Iran, Saudi Arabia also should not be fought on Nigeria's territory.
The involvement of Saudi Arabia, the interpretation is that when Islamic issues happens like this, you sought for, just like you go to court to seek for clarification. Saudi Arabia, which has enjoyed 95% of support by Muslims all over the world, that this is a dangerous Islamic sect. It is not a correct Islamic sect. Did you see sects, mosque anywhere in Lagos? Did you see anywhere in the southwest? They are regimented in the north. And
But
the northerners are rallying.
they have a representation in the southwest.
Yes, because they've been indulged. Because they have done, governments in the past have not done what Buhari is doing. That is why they're spreading. And it has to be curtailed. The government of the past didn't do what they're supposed to. That is why Boko Haram became what it became. What this government is doing is what the previous government didn't do. We can't accommodate another Boko Haram in Nigeria. Let us treat it as it is. If you handle it with kid glove, it's going to blossom.
Okay.
It's going to get to a point where we will not be able to control it again.
Okay.
Lives have been lost. And Shiites has been held responsible. Go and read what they have done in the past.
All right. Let's
and we are
also
saying
get...
that we are talking about human rights. When someone goes about killing other, destroying other people's property,
Indeed, it's a controversial issue.
To protect me.
But let me also get some legal perspective. I'm sure you both are following the Kaduna drama now in court. Another day for El-Zakzaky on Monday, whether he should be allowed. And we've seen the advocacy by the lawyers, the legal team for him now, where they're saying the treatment he needs cannot be gotten in the country.
I think I just want to advise that we should also domesticate the global facilities that are available. I'm disturbed by the fact that medical attention is not available in my country. Even the president himself had to travel out of the country. So if we can care for people, whether they are in custody or out freely, I think it will be of good advantage to us. And I might ask, you see, the issue of equity is coming to play. I tie myself to the fact that no group should constitute a threat to society. Then what about groups like Boko Haram? What about groups like the herdsmen? So if we are going to exercise the executive powers, the administrative powers to ensure that we have peaceful and enabling environment, it should be applicable to all elements that constitute threat to national cohesion and unity. You see, like you said, some of us are Christians. We are interested not from the religious angle, but from the fact that we have another fire being set. Okay. And we expect the government to exercise the best form of wisdom so that we contain it. We have other issues that are plaguing us in this nation than to pay so much attention in heating up the polity and everything. Gentlemen. And I pray for the president of this country, who will be recorded as the pilot of this regime, that God will give him the wisdom to bring this nation back to...
A group that goes about killing, there's no wisdom in indulging.
You see,
them.
the headsmen
go
about killing,
the government should
Boko Haram
go
about
the treatment
killing.
they are
And
giving.
that's why we are saying,
exactly.
God give
From
the
the
wisdom.
version of what we have read in the paper, it says that it's not under arrest, it's in protective custody, and they take care of him. Government should bring all this to the fore so that Nigerians will understand the treatment, whether he deserves to go abroad or not. But because you don't want to see the face of the president, you are not getting back to him.
Olokoba,
if you are encouraged to indulge sites.
That's all the time we have.
Thank you.
It is indeed a heated topic, and I appreciate all your analysis.
Thank you.
Razak Olokoba and Jide Ologun, thank you once again.
I'll see what the headlines are across Nigeria. Various papers this morning coming up with different headlines. It's quite interesting. I have with me in the studio Razak Olokoba as well as Jide Ologun. They are social commentators and they will help us make sense of some of the issues on the headlines this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
Nice
Good morning, viewers.
Right. Now let's start with the blueprint. Blueprint says Senate to Obaseki, that's the governor of Edo State, issue fresh proclamation in 7 days or risk assembly takeover. And the government of Edo replied to say your illegality won't stand. That's what Edo State government is replying the National Assembly in that regard. All right, we'll be talking about it. as we get along now. News Direct is where we go next. News Direct says, Senate confirms Oga, Fashola, Amechi, 40 other ministerial nominees. And Edo Assembly crisis, the Senate gives Obaseki 7 days to issue fresh proclamation. We have that also all on the front page of the News Direct. From there, let's go to the Vanguard. Vanguard this morning says Shiites banned for engaging in subversion. IGP Adamu is saying this, as the Inspector General of Police. Says group pledged allegiance to foreign nations to ruin Nigeria. And don't turn Nigeria to battleground. Shiite group warns Saudi Arabia and Iran. And reverse yourself on Shiites proscription on Icon, urges the federal government, and says Nigeria's security has worsened in last 5 years. You find all that on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria Tribune is where we go next. Nigeria Tribune says federal government sends EFCC, ICPC, NFIU after 20 AMCON debtors to enforce recovery of over 5 trillion naira debt. 5 trillion naira debt. That's more than half of the budget of the year in Nigeria. Okay. We have that on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. From there, let's go to the Nation newspaper now. The Nation is where we go next, and says Buhari's chief of staff Kyari to court, Atiku wasn't born Nigerian. And that's the time he was a witness, testifying at the tribunal. Now, PDP candidates shouldn't have run. President tenders credentials. You find all that controversy still going back and forth, but you have all these headlines on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Daily Sun is where we go next now. As Senate clears all ministerial nominees, Buhari works on ministers' portfolios and likely to inaugurate cabinet this week. Okay, you find that on the front page of the Daily Sun. Nigerians waiting to see who will become minister for what, and it will come out in days, but at the discretion of the president. All right, the next and the last paper now is the Daily Trust. And it says IGP on shared groups proscription will treat IMN members as terrorists and state enemies. Security experts, others react as Onayekon faults the federal government on this issue. Well, a lot of Nigerians have been commenting on this, and certainly the authorities know what to do best. Let's, gentlemen, this issue that has been on the front burner the past few weeks is the issue of Edo State House of Assembly and the reaction of, or the planned move by the National Assembly. We saw yesterday when the Senate was giving 7 days ultimatum to the Edo State House of Assembly to issue a fresh proclamation for the proper inauguration, what they call proper inauguration of the House of Assembly. Well, Jide, I would like you to start on this one, seeing it from the eyes of the law. When the Constitution, in some areas, I think in Section 11 or so, gives powers to certain powers to the National Assembly to intervene. Does this fall in that category?
It does, but it's subject to wide interpretation.
Okay.
I recall it happened in Rivers State when they came out smashing each other with the mace and stuff like that. But in this case now, I think the governor of Edo State has a matter with the godfather. He is the godson. They were together, they fell apart. And of course, he's trying to ensure that those who principally manage the House of Assembly are on his side, because whether we like it or not, there are allusions to the fact that he may even be sent out of office. So it's more of a political battle. And of course, you know that the godfather we are talking about has a national influence. But we are just asking that this matter should be handled in a way that they have time to focus on delivering on the dividends of good governance. But generally, when you talk about politics, you can always find rancors like this. And let's see what happens within the 7 days. I know that there have been consultations going on between stakeholders, and that is why I respect the likes of Aliko Dangote and some people who have expressed, intelligence in the business environment coming in to ensure that we galvanize our efforts in a way that we focus
So that things
on
don't
solving
get
the
out of
problems
hand.
we have. Exactly.
All right, Razak, on the floor of the Senate, Senator Rocha Sokorocha was saying that the Senate shouldn't get involved in the matters of the state, and especially that this issue is a family affair of the APC and it should be handled as such, and calling on the leaders to know that they know what to do when it comes to handling that issue instead of using state institution to violate the constitution. That was his own interpretation. What do you say?
Well, family affairs are guided by family rules.
Okay.
So even if it's a family affair, there are rules. There should be arrangement which is in place all over the world where president can check the excesses of a governor. If you have a state police, the federal police will also check the excesses of the state police. So also the national parliament
Can overrule.
can also check the excesses of the, and when things are going wrong, you live in a bigger component called Nigeria, and if a section is coming to run a parliamentary aberration, they have a right to intervene. So let's look at the issue dispassionately. If it is important for the national parliament to take over the House of Assembly, they should do so. What doesn't help at the moment is the image of our national parliament. Okay. The immediate image, particularly the last 8th assembly and the 7th and the 6th like that. I mean the 7th and the 8th parliament. The image is battered in a way, and that is why anything our parliament wants to put their hand into, Nigerians always frown at it and become suspicious that they are playing politics. But this is a new parliament, and I think they should allow you to run the parliamentary process is supposed to run. It's going to be a deterrent to others too, that if you don't run your parliament very well, it's going to be taken over. Governor of Edo State should not be the spokesperson of the state parliament. Let the state parliament speak up. If they are in order with themselves, they should speak out. Because it is strange when Senate say, do so thing, it should be pointing at the state parliament to give account of their proceedings.
But in this case, they are saying the state parliament is not even properly constituted.
That's why they are lumping politics with governance.
Okay.
What my colleagues there have said is the politics side of it. But in governance and in the law, that if the procedure is not followed, the Senate will tell the governor that your intervention in your state parliament, you took a wrong step. Reverse the step you take, or will come and take over. So the parliament themselves should be allowed, the parliamentarians themselves should be allowed to speak up. Is the process okay? Is the process not? If it is not, if the larger percentage based on everything shows that something is wrong, it should be taken over. No, us. We should be objective. We must begin to run our nation the way it's supposed to run. The rest of the world are watching us. Okay. And about the biggest population in Africa, 7th in the world. So we must load example. We must begin to show examples to the rest of the world who will see us as a role model that we are getting it right. Okay.
Now, the Edo State in one of its reaction had said that this issue is even in court. They had taken it to court already, and that what the National Assembly or even the House of Reps plans to do, in fact, the National Assembly as a whole, whether Senate or House of Reps, what they want to do is playing into the hands and a source of illegality.
We cannot rule out the force of influence, and whether we like it or not, in the Nigerian politics, we have some mighty forces that can mobilize influence at the national and state level. But if the matter is in court, they have to maintain status quo. And of course, we saw the drama that produced the speakership of the House, and we had a similar case in Bauchi State also. These are all politics. It should be family affairs, so to say. But when these family affairs prevent the delivery of the main purpose of coming together, which is to advance the fortunes of society, reasonable stakeholders must be interested. I think he just mentioned something brilliant now, that we are a role model. I think I want to extend it by saying that we should be the role model. The world is watching us. I mean, we cannot claim that we are juveniles in this democracy of a thing. So,
but are we really not juveniles?
We must bring to the fore the interest of the people. And I'm advising now, as long as we emphasize a personal interest in democracy, we'll begin to have crises like this. If not, if we decide that, okay, let national interests run, then we drop our personal interests and ambitions and let things flow fluently, that we
Okay.
can migrate from poverty to
No problem.
prosperity.
It's okay. A lot of analysts have said that these are all the things that should have happened in the 70s and 80s. But because we're not running democracy, we must start learning these things, testing, every point of governance one after the other. So by implication, we're still juveniles one way or the other when it comes to governance. But thank you very much for coming, Didi Ologun. Thank you very much.
God bless Nigeria.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you.